It was cool.
So when you look forward at the field, what innovations do you see emerging in architecture?
I see one thing, of course, is things that are affecting other industries, other businesses a lot already, and that's prototyping, things like 3D printing, the use of systems, electronic, computer, all the sort of software skill sets that are abilities that we have that are out there today are shaping architecture very quickly and in really profound ways. So the world, I think, as we go forward, is things like 3D printing, for instance, where you can actually, print a building with something that looks like a pump that pumps like a concrete, into a form or into a shape. That's going to continue to evolve, I think, to where the way we build buildings is, kind of unhinged from the way we've been doing it for millennia, which is basically you dig down the ground, make that really firm, put something on top of that, and on top of that, and go up, and then clad the outside of that, and then build something on the inside of it so you've got space, but make sure you have light through it, and don't forget air and all that stuff, right? What you need. Now we're at a point where we'll be much more capable of saying, the architecture and construction is an integrated business where we as architects and engineers and construction expertise have to work together. So what we call design build or integrated project delivery, those are the ways we're going to be actually, developing buildings and even homes in the future. So that's one which is huge. The way we do drawings is going to change. We still print paper, we still print drawings out in 2 foot by 3 foot or so sheets. That's going to, go away soon, faster and faster to where we're really just working on an iPad. Everybody's, working in virtual space, doing things like this. So paper is going to be less and less important. I think the most profound, though, to me, is that we now have more and more abilities to look at using materials that are biomimic and biodynamic. So we can now begin to really look at how we grow a building instead of build a building. And so, for instance, if you look at the work that MIT's Media Lab is doing, or for instance, if you go look at a great online resource, a great museum, the Cooper Hewitt Museum in New York, if you look there and look at the range of things that people are doing around the world that have to do with this new level of environmentalism and organic architecture. That's what I think is very cool and coming on very fast. Skins of buildings that react to humidity and temperature and light. So we take a building which used to be, let's say, brick was our form, or concrete or wood. Now we've got buildings that can be permeable when they want to be permeable and close off when they don't. You take like today with coronavirus, we'll have the ability for buildings to respond to pandemic just by the nature of how the building understands, the life we have here on this earth. So that's exciting to me.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
And I think where that goes for education and for people thinking about architecture or all of the various aspects of building. Wow, I wish I knew better. What's really happening in universities today specifically, which universities are doing things, which high schools like yours are doing things. Where is it going at that level? I think it's really exciting. I think there definitely needs to be more attention paid to it because this is our Earth. This is our home for us billions, and so we got to care about it.
So to that end, I'll share with everybody that in our first year of the Entrepreneur Institute, we had a student who was interested in architecture, and she reached out to Mr. Pedrick, and he said, he listened to her, but he ultimately said, I'm really interested in the virtual space, and really seeded her project in developing within Unity and Unity Engine 3D designs of homes. And she, within a few weeks, she was coming to me going, can I buy this texture pack so I can texture the walls in a certain way and shadows, and really you set her on the path, to this digital world of designing a space that people could walk into and evaluate in 3D within the virtual system, by being so visionary and forward thinking.
Well, she has the open mind. That's the curiosity, the inquisitiveness, the desire to learn, and the confidence to know that if she asks, she can find out. If she seeks it, she can discover it. And you can't imitate that, right? That comes from the person. That's great.
I am writing that down. I do a list of takeaways that I try to send out, and I'm going to listen to the recording to get exactly what you just said, because that was gold.
I forget too.
So if you had an unlimited budget, and your dream client, what would you be working on right now?
If I had an unlimited budget, I think I'd have a disaster. We laugh because it's a great question. It's a scary question, right? So I've actually worked for, I'll give you a quick example, but I worked for a couple in Connecticut. Both of them had previous families, and they found each other in their 60s, remarried, right? And they both had more money than a lot of people put together. And so they kind of had the unlimited budget. And we were doing their house, but their house never stopped, because they would go away for the weekend and they'd come back and say, hey, we think a library over here would be great. Okay, we'll do the library. Okay. Well, we went to so-and-so's and they have a pool. And a pool, we didn't even think about a pool. So they were constantly changing. So the unlimited budget thing, while it feels like, gosh, what could you do if you just didn't have any, if there was nothing inhibiting the ability of a project to be fantastic. Money is the thing that, in fact, as one architect, I remember, did a building, it was asked, he had a very low budget, and he said, how did you do this building? It was like a very high level of LEED, of certification for energy and environmentalism. And he said, had we had more money, we would have designed it conventionally, right? So his perspective, which I believe in too, is when you constrain something like your resources, like money, people have to get more creative. So part of the answer to the question is, if you look for the project type where you have something that's going to really drive your creativity and drive the team's creativity to solve something, that's the really fun stuff. That's the really exciting stuff to do with. So an unlimited budget, in the other sense, I think, which is usually intended, is, what could you do if you had the ability to do anything? It's really this organic architecture that I would love to work into. And money and other kind of criteria actually prevent a lot of that from happening in a bigger scale. So to take the money part away, if it was a real organic architecture, purely, that'd be fantastic. But I think of who I would like to work with on a project where there were, where I could just pick and choose a project type or a project team and a client. I would like to work with people that are really interesting people. And I think of old name for me to think about this way is Richard Branson and the work that he's done with Virgin and that brand. I like to think that, people who are really, entrepreneurial in their core, but not just entrepreneurial from their own limited point of view, their own personal perspective, but, built something enormous. The Virgin brand, I'm not trying to advertise for it, but, that it's a corporation. essentially, or group of corporations. It's a lot of people who are in a business, but it's driven by an entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that'd be very, enjoyable, to work with someone like that. I'd also like to work with, there's a fellow named Jeffrey Canada, who I wrote this down because I just am getting to know him. Getting to know about him. He's the CEO of a group called the Harlem Children's Fund Zone in New York. And I'm reading this, so I don't forget how it was said. He deals with the education and social and medical support to make success self-reinforcing and recalibrating expectations. That's the kind of person I want to work with, is someone who's really thinking about people and how we can change expectations, recalibrate expectations. So,
great.
That's what I look for. If I can find that.
So we had a question in the chat asking if you could give a quick example of a perfectly organic project that you're aware of.
It's hard to find a really organic example. There are building types coming up today that are more organically programmed and designed. For instance, if you look at the new LA County Museum of Art, LACMA, the building that's being built there, very organic from a shaping point of view and rethinking how a museum is laid out. Goes away from the four walls, the rectangular box kind of approach. That's one way. There's a building, and I'm forgetting which building it is right now, but it's a building in Mexico City. It's residential, I think, and it's a high-rise. And the exterior skin is coated with titanium dioxide. So titanium dioxide takes NO2, nitrogen oxide, out of the air. So it's an air purifying building. And the shape of all this exterior is sort of like my fingers, where air can pass through. So you've got windows between, and of course, and all that, but the framework itself allows air to pass over it. So in a place like Mexico City, and certainly Los Angeles or New York, or most cities, I guess, air quality and improving it is something that now we can do actually by how we skin the building.
Thanks very much for watching. If you found it enlightening and interesting, then please like the video with your thumbs up. Please also subscribe to the channel to be notified of future episodes.